So Jonathan, do I do it now or under 1.6?
Yeah, 1.6. So you're now at 1.1 super. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
I'm now at 1.1.
Yeah, 2-5 1.1.
So let's move on to business. Thank you all for being patient in our quandary here. So I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation approval of out-of-state travel to San Francisco, California for quality teaching for English learners on July the 16th through the 20th, 2018.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah. Going back and talking to certain people, paying close to $100,000 for these individuals, would it be feasible to send our main directors or people in charge of the EL program to go over there, come back, pay the teachers that are dealing with this program 2 or 3 days, whatever it takes them to get this study, to pay them, and I think we would still be able to save the money there versus take 2 or 3 days before school starts, these individuals would come in, or they could even do it after. No, that would have to be before school starts to go over, and they could become teachers and teach our teachers what they learned and what to do and what not to do.
Okay, I think that is outside of the scope of the actual motion that was on the
Yeah.
floor. So,
But it's under discussion. We could always amend if we have to.
yeah, we can amend it. But I think we need to deal with the motion that was presented, discuss it, and then deal with the motion, and then make a recommendation after the motion.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, so motions to, a motion to amend is always something that could take precedence. The issue that you have before you, though, is this is one of those things that, you probably would be best to have, send it up for an up and down, and if staff took Mr. Rolla's feedback, for example, or someone else's feedback, and then presented a different proposal, as opposed to having, it seems to be more of a matter appropriate for staff to determine a different proposal.
Right. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a number of comments. One is, as my understanding is, this QTEL conference it's really designed for teachers more than administrators, and yet out of the list that I have with the positions identified, only one of the 18 is an ELD teacher. And for several meetings prior to this one, we've had kind of running discussions about how attendees at a particular conference are going to disseminate what they learned at conferences when they get back to the district. And we had asked for a written plan, and none was forthcoming. And it seems to me we're right back in the same situation when 17 out of the 18 people that are going to go are not ELD classroom teachers. There's a real question as to what's the plan for those 17 people to hold PD days or whatever it is to essentially pass on that wisdom to the classroom teachers. Another thing that was pointed out by one of the public comment speakers is that instead of going out of state, CU can offer, essentially 10 times the credit hours and so forth, and teachers can get certification, which is very different than just getting a piece of paper saying that they attended a conference, and for less money. And furthermore, I think the price tag on this thing has jumped $25,000 from $70,000 to $95,000, and that was I guess from going from San Antonio to San Francisco. And I agree, San Francisco has probably a higher cost of living index than San Antonio, but the per diem, for example, is $385 a day. Now, that's not including lodging. Lodging's separate. But, you think generally per diem covers your meals. And even in San Francisco, I think I could survive on a whole lot less than $385 a day. And we're going to do this for a week, times 18. So I just think that's fairly exorbitant. And of course, I mean, the $95,000 can be used. It's a lot of money, and we can do a lot with it. Lastly, I think I've ticked off a number of reasons here, and anyway, I would hope, I was thinking back to when we had our CASB meeting. That was one of the very first things I did as a board member, and a couple of my colleagues on the board here, we were down in Colorado Springs, and a couple of my colleagues drove back to Denver because they wanted to save the district the cost of putting them up in Colorado Springs. And I thought that was a very admirable thing, and they explained to me the reason they didn't stay down there and they chose to drive back here to Denver was that allowed a few extra dollars to stay in the coffer to help our kids. And that was for a few dollars as opposed to nearly $100,000. So I would hope that I think any one of these reasons I've given is sufficient for us to reconsider. And I certainly hope it resonates with other members of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor and a second.
I have a question. Can someone tell me how many teachers from the University of Boulder Buno Center, I might have said it wrong, received a Master of Arts degree in Education Equity and Cultural Diversity?
Are you asking how many teachers we have going through the program right now?
No, how many teachers got the endorsement?
Okay, from the Buno Center?
So our staff don't know this answer? Well,
You're talking about from whatever time that Adams City has been going on, correct?
17. Because they only been here 2 years. This is their 3rd year, and I'm just trying to figure out, because it's stating that Adams 14, to get the endorsement, Adams 14 will pay a third of the tuition costs. So how much is the cost for the 31 hours to graduate coursework?
I will try to answer, Board Member Thomas. I believe the total cost, because I don't have that documentation right in front of me, is $45,000 for the CLD Masters, and the district is picking up a third of it, which is $15,000 per teacher. And I believe we have 20 teachers that are currently participating in that program. Without the documentation in front of me, I definitely am going by memory.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the superintendent's recommendation of out-of-state travel to San Francisco. Any other discussion? Roll call, Monica, please.
Mr. Archuleta?
Nay.
Dr. Hyde?
Nay.
Mrs. Quintana? Nay. Mr. Rolla?
Nay.
Mr. Thomas?
Nay.
Now we'll move on to Superintendent's recommendation, approval of the District Accountability Advisory Committee charge and representatives for the 2017-2018 school year. Can I get a motion for DAC?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. There's a board policy, and I'm just trying to understand for myself. And it's DBD, determination of budget priorities. And and somebody can tell me yes or no, please. A copy of the school level accountability recommendations shall be sent to the District Advisory Accountability Committee and to the board. Did the Board of Education get that?
I haven't got it yet.
Hello? Somebody work for the district? Excuse me.
I don't understand the question.
The question is, we have this in front of us, DAC recommendations. According to Board Policy DBD, a copy of the school-level accountability recommendations shall be sent to DAC Advisory Accountability Committee and to the board. Did the board receive the school accountability? Yes or no?
Have they done that yet, Jesse?
No, they have not. We have not received any recommendations from the Building Advisory Accountability Committees.
Is there a time frame for doing that?
This is my first year working with the DAC. So I didn't know we were supposed to bring back recommendations to DAC. This year we've been working to really work with the DAC to provide the Board of Education like thoughtful recommendations by May.
Mr. Thomas, could you clarify, I know that the committees meet on
Are they
some kind of a basis.
Right.
Are we supposed to have a report after each meeting or an annual report?
Annual report from each school district. Are there any principals in here? So we can go there. Are you a principal in a school?
I wasn't here last year, so.
Please come up.
Yes, sir.
According to board policy, your building should have had a building accountability committee.
Yes, sir.
Did y'all have one?
We do have a building accountability committee, yes.
So y'all have recommendations throughout the school year that y'all should have presented to the DAC and should have came to the Board of Education.
So this is my first year, so I've just done everything in accordance with what has been issued to me from the Director of Federal Grants. So we've done a compact, we have provided that to the district, but I don't have any other information beyond that.
Okay, so what are we gonna do, Superintendent? Because according to board policy, school level accountability should support, we should see what they said and compare it with the DAC. And now we got this is on our agenda to vote.
I think what I heard Jesse say is that, or one of our employees say is that the DAC is going to do their recommendations by May. If I am correct, that still gives us time for your back team
Yes,
to
sir.
forward your information to the DAC team, either, well, really it's March or April, probably the sooner the better, and then they can move on with the recommendation to the board.
Correct. Yes, sir.
But it's for the budget. in the board policy says before the recommendation, so we're not doing it right.
Mr. Chair,
Which,
Yes, sir.
to clarify, the issue before the board tonight is to approve the charge for the District Accountability Committee, and Board Member Thomas has raised a legitimate question that how that committee should proceed, that the board could address in the future, because it certainly, according to the policy, it needs to receive school-level accountability recommendations, and the policy contemplates that those would be incorporated within the recommendations that this committee, the District Accountability Committee, ultimately proceeds to the board. And so if you had both of them, then you'd be able to look and see if there's any differences. But the question that you have tonight, and you could call the question on that, the discussion is to just approve the charge of the committee tonight.
Right.
So then they still have to get that information to us. So they're working on it, we just haven't approved the committee yet. So we have to approve the committee.
Go ahead, Dean. Go ahead.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the District Accountability Advisory Committee charge for the representatives for 2017-18 school year. So are there any other discussion? Roll call, Monica, please.
Mr. Achuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
aye.
Mrs. Quintana? Aye. Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Nay.
1.3, Superintendent's recommendation, approval of overnight field trip by the Kearney Middle School advanced 8th grade band students to Glenwood Springs, Colorado on May the 5th through the 6th, 2018. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Monica, please.
Mr. Achuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintana? Aye. Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
So 1.4, Superintendent's recommendation, approval to contract with Solient Health for the professional services of a fully licensed speech and language pathologist.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Monica, please.
Mr. Achuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintana? Aye. Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
That moves us to 1.5. It's a board action, recess advisory committee. So I move to direct the superintendent to conform to any recess advisory committee with policy BDF. Increase the amount of physical activity time for students during the school day consistent with policy JLJ, and coordinate communications with recess, regarding recess with the board. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, can you tell me what policy JLJ is? I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find it.
That's the district's policy on recess.
And what does it say?
Do you have that in front of you, Jonathan?
Yes, sir. Policy JLJ, entitled Physical Activity. The board believes students who engage in physical activity as part of the learning environment are healthier and more likely to be engaged learners. It then goes through and provides, I'll summarize if you like, that all district students shall be provided opportunities to engage in daily physical activity.
We have
Oh, good, you have it.
We have
All
it
right.
on the screen.
So it sets forth that you have to have
I'm good
minimum
with it.
amounts of time.
Okay.
I got a question. Coordinate communication regarding recess with the board. That's a little vague. Can you explain more to that to me?
Okay, so if you remember, we had a meeting with the superintendent about this, and he sent out a memo to the teachers about this, and he's got something to read after we get done with this, about that same communication that went out to the schools. So we hear the same message that he sent out to the schools regarding recess,
All right.
okay? So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, Monica, please.
Mr. Achuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintana. Aye. Mr. Rolla.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
So prior to moving on to 1.6, I'm going to have the superintendent read what went out.
Thank you, Board President Archuleta. And this is a memo I sent out to our elementary principals on Friday, February 23rd, and it states as follows. Elementary principals, please be informed that the elementary recess block will be reinstated in all elementary schools starting February the 26th and will continue through the end of the school year. For the 2018-19 school year, a recess committee has been created, and the committee will advise the superintendent on potential changes in recess for the upcoming school year. At this time, I am asking principals to meet with their staff on how recess will be implemented at each school. Of utmost importance is the fact that the district is in turnaround and a certain amount of time is required for specific schools, subjects, or areas. For example, Rose Hill and Central Elementary are required to follow the Beyond Textbooks framework. Recess minutes cannot decrease the minutes allotted for the reteach and enrich block because this is a requirement for Beyond Textbooks. This is also the case for the districts whose turnaround plan, approved by the State Board of Education, follows the same requirements. All schools must protect math, language arts, science, and science blocks because these are subjects the Colorado Measures of Academic Success assessments will cover and will ultimately determine the school's framework points or ratings. Lastly, please remember the law requires that we address the needs of our English language learners. We do that particularly through our ELD block. The minutes will vary depending on the level of the student, but once again, it will be of utmost importance to implement recess without hindering other areas. In closing, I want to thank all our principals and staff for the support you offer our students and parents each and every day. I know if we all continue to work together for the betterment of our students, Adams 14 will be one of the top performing districts in the state of Colorado.
Thank you. So we're still in business now. I need to go to new 1.6. Motion to approve and act upon the item that was pulled on page 12 on the transfer, under transfer. Can I get a motion?
It's page 12, right?
On page 12, yes.
2 transfers, correct?
So
Two
moved.
transfers, yes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to explain to the public why I'm going to vote the way I probably will vote. And that is, it has to do, this issue, this personnel issue, has more to do with the interpretation of our turnaround plan. And some people say that the document itself is a work in progress, and others say that it's a more codified or more rigid and strict document. And my understanding is that we're going to have someone from CDE here tomorrow who can probably shed light on how rigid or flexible the turnaround document is. And I think it would be prudent simply to postpone it until we had that input, rather than to act a day before we have that information.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Can I have roll call, Monica, please?
Mr. Archuleta.
Aye.
Dr. Hyde.
Nay.
Mrs. Quintana. Aye. Mr. Rolla.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
So I need a new item, 1.7. I need a motion to table the action that was on page 15.
So moved.
Second.
I need to add a little bit to that. We'll take it up on the executive session after we get done here. Also, we've got an executive session again, so we didn't get a chance to finish our conversation, but we'll finish our conversation during that time. So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
What is is it tabled indefinitely? Is it tabled for your next regular meeting?
So what do you want to do? Table for our next regular meeting, or you want to act on it tonight?
Next meeting. I mean,
Point of clarification, isn't the executive session to address this?
We'll talk about it.
So,
Talk
I
about
see,
it,
but
but
so,
we need an action after,
okay, gotcha.
either up or down, or we wait until next month, or whatever the case may be. So, what do you want to do?
I just say you can, your motion could be to table pending further action.
Okay, so I'll make a modification to my motion to table this until pending further action.
And
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, Monica, please.
Mr. Achuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintana? Aye. Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
So that moves us to general communications. Anybody have any general communications?
Yes. Excuse me. I would like for Dr. Abrego to set up with Biliteracy Square to give us a presentation on the technical report that I believe they gave him on February the 9th. It was in our Friday updates. And I'd like to see that.
You want the presentation on where we can follow it?
Yeah, the presentation, I think it was about, if I saw it correct, it was about 30-some slides.
Do you have that? You have access to that, Doctor?
Yes, I
Okay.
think we do have.
It was, I believe, Dr. Kathy, I can't pronounce your last.
Escamilla?
Escamilla from the Bruno Center. I believe that's the one reviewed the data with him. So I'd like to see that presentation.
Okay, when do you want to do that?
What is it, that Thursday after we get our packet? Or as soon as possible, or however we can work it out.
Okay. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
I'm not done.
go ahead.
I got a question about the teachers. 'Cause, sorry. I believe the Chief Academic Officer. Can you come up, please? I know Ms. Metler is coming tomorrow, but my question is, the Department of Education provides a Reading Foundation Academy for teachers from K through 3, which is 121-hour classes. And my question is, based in the turnaround, it says, how many of our, my question is, how many of our teachers, as of today, has been in that started that program to today, from the beginning of the school year to today, K through 3, because I believe I heard Dr. Abrego say that our third graders was having trouble with reading. And if the Department of Revenue Reading Foundation Academy is given and is free, I'm trying to figure out how come we don't have teachers in this program, or what are we doing with this program?
Once again, I don't have that documentation in front of me, but approximately 128 teachers completed the 7 modules last school year, and it's all K-3 teachers. And this year, it was opened up, a second cohort for all new teachers, K-3, and I believe currently there are approximately 23 teachers participating in that second cohort of Reading Foundations with CDE.
Yeah, because when I
Which
read,
means all our teachers would have been, received the 7 modules, CDE, professional development on reading foundations.
okay, and because that's what it said, it does says in our turnaround plan, it does say that all our teachers, by the end of this school semester, they will have completed that. So, and then I'm trying to figure out too, because we talking about the budget, and we talking about professional development. By the end of the school year, 6th and 12th grade teachers will be certified in construction meaning. Is that true?
All our teachers will not have completed constructing meaning at the end of this school year. I don't have those numbers in front of me. We are in our second cohort currently. I believe that completes Kearney Middle School and most of Adams City Middle School, but we still have work to do with the high school.
Okay. In cultural logistics diversity, professional development program, are we, because the CDE does have Pacific to address that by literacy reading instruction, what are we doing with that?
With would you repeat the question, please?
Okay, the Reading Foundation and the English Language Development at Adams 14 plan for 8th session specifically to address biliteracy reading instruction. Are we doing that?
Biliteracy, professional development for biliteracy teachers is provided through the ELD department, and that is currently happening. I can't give you the dates. I believe the last one was February 10th, I believe. I'm not sure. It was a Saturday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Dr. Hyde, you had something?
These are just questions, I suppose, for ourselves, but I guess it comes under communication. What can we do to arrange for the back recommendations to be compiled and forwarded to the board either directly or through the DAC structure? And it seems to me that May seems to be the kind of the right time frame. Could we request of the superintendent that that information come to the board, let's say by the end of the school year or something? I don't know exactly the structure with back leading into DAC and so forth, but I just don't want it to be dropped. The second thing, I appreciated having the budget process review this evening, but I would like to have the board create an opportunity for us to almost as informal a process as we can to kick questions around. And I would love to have, I mean, this comes back to my original request of the financial and accounting people, but you know, I think we could all benefit from having just a sit down and where we could ask of your staff how different aspects of the budget are put together and so forth. And so I really don't want to let go of that piece. You know, and I know we've had trouble kind of pushing it through, but I think it's valuable for all of us. And the third and last thing I'd like to mention is something, again, that I've brought up a couple of times, but I haven't gotten any traction on it. And Mr. Chairman, I don't know, you know, I know you have a big list of things for us to do, but I think I don't want to see it slide indefinitely, and that is we need to design, as best I understand it, we need to design a written evaluative instrument for ourselves, for the board itself, as well as for the superintendent. My understanding is this is required by our policies, and that in fact, we have no written evaluative instrument, or we haven't used it, and that it's only any evaluation that's been done has been verbal, and it needs to be written. And the last point under that is that my understanding is it should be done well before the time that we actually do or conduct the evaluation, so that there are two separate processes. One is the review or the establishment of the criteria, and then possibly 6 months later, the actual application of the evaluative instrument. So, and my feeling is, we really don't want to waste a whole lot of time. I think it's urgent that we at least get the instrument pulled together, so we can, when the time comes for an evaluation, it'll be in place.
So,
Thank you.
so that is on the agenda for tomorrow, for our
Good,
meeting tomorrow.
good, okay, great,
So
thank you.
We'll talk about it tomorrow a little
Good,
bit more.
thanks.
So Connie, do you have any communication? Mr. Rolla? So I have a little bit of communications. It's the high school's talent show this weekend. So if you get a chance, go out and see some of the kids perform. I haven't had an opportunity to go out to the little theater there and watch any of the plays, because I don't think I've even heard about them, but I did get an opportunity to go see some basketball games, some wrestling matches, and some other stuff with the kids. And I've been to the schools a little bit. I've been a little bit busy. As you can see, the board is very active in doing some things, because we want some actions. You know, we're trying to get some things done. So I haven't been able to go out and just visit the schools as much as I'd like to. I would like to send a shout out to Gianni and Matt, both of you guys, for working very hard on the Best Grant stuff. You know, that's some good news for everybody. If you haven't heard about it, hopefully you pay attention to what's going on in the district, and stay involved with the kids' lives, because it's all about the kids, you know. So it's going to be graduation time. It's going to be graduation time pretty soon. The kids are excited. I mean, there's a lot of good things going on in the district. I know we hear a lot of negativity at the board meeting, but you know, I talk to the youngsters. They walk by my house, and I sit and talk with them a little bit. So you know, there's some good things happening in the district also. So just keep the kids in mind when you're thinking about all these types of things. So with that,
Wait a minute, there's something I just remembered. Okay. I'd like to thank Mr. Thompson there for taking, and Matt, Mr. there for taking care of as you know, there's a lot of stuff going on since the Florida shootings. And today we had negotiation, and Mr. Thompson couldn't remain because he had to go take care of some business. I was dealing with that. And on my way to the board tonight, I thought it was just our district, but it isn't. It's going nationwide. There was on the news, Hinckley and 2 middle schools in Aurora were the same thing, and the ones on those were, I believe, 3 boys and 2 girls, and so they're just saying, well, we were just playing, and I know that Mr. Thompson is right on top of it and taking care of that, and they're even going to the homes and meeting with the parents, and I'd like to say thanks for the hard work that you're doing.
So with that, we do need to go into executive session under CRS 246402-4B, legal advice. We may or may not have some action after that. We don't know whether or not we can come to any consensus during our conversations. But if we do, we'll have to come out onto the dais and act on that. So you're more than welcome to stay while we go into executive session, but not knowing whether or not we'll be able to take any action. It's entirely up to you. So thank you for coming and participating, and thanks for all you do. So can I get a motion to move into executive session under CRS 246402-4, parens 4, parens B, for legal advice?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Who did second?
Can I have roll call, Monica, please?
Mr. Achuleta?
Aye.
Dr.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintana? Aye.
Aye.
Mrs. Quintana? I can't hear.
She said Mrs.
Mrs.
Quintana.
Quintana?
Mrs. Quintana.
I said aye.
I can't hear.
Oh, sorry. Aye.
Dave? Aye. Mr. Rowland?
I said aye.
Aye.
Can't hear
Unanimous.
because of the noise.
I don't know what that's.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to bring the board meeting back together, back to order at 9:36 or 9:31. We need a motion for the approval, or need a motion to recall item number 1.7 on page 15, personnel item, which was previously placed into hold. I also need to reflect in the minutes that Mr. Thomas has left, so he won't be voting on this. So a motion on the personnel to hire the employee or hire the person at a step 6 is the motion that was on the agenda.
As recommended by the superintendent on the consent agenda for today's meeting.
Yes. So can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is just for clarification, this is just to bring it back before the board.
No, we're voting on it.
Oh, I'm sorry. The first motion needs to be Dr. Hyde's correct, the first motion should be to recall the item that was tabled. So that is, and I thought that's what I heard you say, but maybe I misheard it. So that if it's not, you should amend, and that should be the motion before the board, to recall the item that was tabled.
What my motion was to recall item number 17 on page 16, which was previously placed into abatement, into hold, and to have action on it. That was what I had said.
Thank you for clarification. All right, it's been so moved and seconded.
Right. So what are we voting on? An action or to bring it back on?
To bring it back on.
Okay, so can I get, is there any discussion? Okay, can I have roll call, Monica, please? Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so it's back on the agenda. So now I need a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation for,
Page 15.
oh, actually, it's a personnel item, so I can't give a name. And we had renamed it to 1.7, so I need a motion for that approval.
Motion to approve 1.7.
And just for clarification of the record, this is the superintendent's recommendation on page 15 as originally presented in the consent agenda.
Correct.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, Monica, please. Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
With that concludes our business. No further business before us. I make a motion that we close the meeting at 9:36.
34.
Oh, my back. 9:34.
Well, you know the phone's never.
Thank you for,
Yeah.
thank
No
you for
objection,
staying,
the
Monica.
meeting is adjourned.